Okay, my friends, this is a strange one for you, but who knows? Just who knows? Now, I have a friend, Russian guy, nice guy, and he claims that the souls of the dead from long ago are locked in these statues. And I know he's correct on. I mean, I found this long ago, that these things do have creatures inside of them. They marbleized them when they were alive, exactly like the Gorgons' head, tails of Perseus. They said they did this. And if you look at this and you have any ability whatsoever to understand what you see, this is biological. And I'm going to show you the biological, anatomical evidence of this. This is bloody tissue. This white stuff, you see this? Look carefully. You see this? That is just like one big band of tendon, and it is identical to what's in your body. Look at this here. That's the shoulder muscle. That is the muscle and the bone and so forth that is right in your shoulder. This is the guy's gruesome looking face. It was falling apart. They put some plaster on here and some pieces of metal in his forehead and things like this. And so now the guy claimed he constructed it. Never constructed that. That is 100% biological. Now, if you can't understand what you just saw and what you're seeing here as the anatomical equivalent, then I have no hope for your ability to ever understand anything that I'm going to present to you, so you might as well just go back to playing your video games. Okay, now what you see here is the chest of a creature. These are the chest bones. Some of them are dropped down, the ribs. This is where the organs are, and I believe this is the lungs and so forth. This is the liver below. So, that is biological. Where do you think that is? That's in Egypt. And this was Brian Forster. He was out there and he's looking at all these things and saying, this is very strange weathering. Well, it's very strange weathering. That's a giant statue of an Egyptian pharaoh, or, one of these hotshots in ancient Egypt, a big guy with a big, long head. And all on his outer structure, there was different hieroglyphs and so forth, very ornate, and a plate on his, a breastplate and all that business. Very, they dressed them up when they died and put them inside of here like mummies. Only they were the precursors to the mummies. These were really heavily turned into a statue. That's what they were. I'm sorry, that's what it is. And these are how these mummies start out. They apparently just took the mummy and then they plate them with marble, or not marble. This is the leftovers of mineral extraction, metal extraction from crushed up minerals, and they extracted the precious metals, and then what was left over they could use to make statuary and all that business. And that's what they use for this. And that, it looks to me like that is the weaving of a mummy that was inside this. So, and I've seen a lot of them. It's not just this. Now, this Russian guy says that he's got all kinds of stories about Russian hard times and this and that. He lives in Canada now. But anyway, he's got somebody over there in St. Petersburg right this minute. And he tells me they have a garden over there of the most fabulous statues, and they're all falling apart now, like these things, like that weathering, because I believe the guts inside are starting to fester, and they are starting to drip out there and break out and crack off these marble pieces that have coated them. And so he's telling me that they're turning them all into plastic now. They're making molds of them, turning them into plastic, saying, well, they're just going to fall apart, so we need to keep them, preserve them, so you can walk around 24 hours, 7 days a week, middle of the winter, middle of the summer. They're just here, and they're just plastic, so they won't go bad. So, and they probably just throw the rest of them away. I don't know what they're doing with them, but he's very concerned that these are the souls of people, and I can't disagree with that. Now, I don't know if they have any soul. I don't know if they're coming out of there and going to walk again or have any. I have no clue whatsoever about any of that. Now, you're going to have to work that out yourself. he's got some deep feelings, and he claims to have 40 different DNA tests from different statues that came back as being human. That's what he said. And he says they're only these ones you do from Ancestry.com or whatever, one of those things. I think it was Ancestry, he said. And really, what you have to do, if you're ever going to do this, you have to do it extremely sterile. And then you have to clean your tools with bleach, clean the surface with bleach, wipe it all down, and then you have to find an arterial network, some bloody spot. We now all know, all you guys know now about the red blood and the black. Red blood, don't do the black, it's the vein blood. It doesn't particulate like the red. You want to get the red blood, and you want to get it into, I suppose, a little slurry of some sort. Grind it up a little bit, and then put it in there just like you spit into something or whatever they make you do. And send it off and see what happens if you want. I'm done. I already did 3 DNA tests. And the one I did were ancient protocols with gene clean kits and all kinds of stuff. It took months to do it. And it was not like a $100 test or anything either. So it was, and I had 3 tests done, and they all came back human. And I did them there was no question about the way it was harvested. Absolutely none whatsoever. So don't come to me with talking about, oh, there must be a mistake. No. And I took it from the arterial network, which is what anybody doing this should. And when you do that, the DNA is dense. Because there's a process. I won't go through it, but the molecules get surrounded, the DNA gets surrounded, it's a metal complex, and little molecules go right around it called ligands, they lock it in there, they sequester the DNA is extracted by acids, it pops out the hemoglobin, the DNA is in the hemoglobin, and you test that. Now, it may not be 100%, but you're going to get enough base pairs, and in mine, he said it was between 100 and 200 base pairs, and that is enormous. To be a straight row, that's not going to be a mistake. And he ran negative controls the whole time. There's no problem whatsoever. So, my Russian friend seems to think he would like to see people do these kind of tests. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm done doing this. The testing. I've got all the stuff I need. If he wants to do it, good. If you want to do it, good. And I'll show it up. If somebody wants to say, here's what I found, or here's what I found, I'll post it. And that pretty much, I think that's what he wants me to do, because I have a little bit of an audience now that is interested in this, and maybe somebody will do this. I don't know. Anyway, I guess that's where I'm going to leave it. But there are creatures inside these statues, and I mean a lot of them. I'm not just talking a handful. I'm talking a ton of them. And there are big, gigantic creatures, and there are little creatures, and there's animals, and there's all kinds of things inside of these statuaries. And this statuary is not carved. 99%. This here, that's not carved. That's not carved. That is made from a homogeneous flow of particles that was ground up, and then they leached out the metals, and that's what's left over, a slurry of stuff like that. And then they used it to make, all you got to do is add a little more red bloody stuff, and here you got red quartz. You put a bunch of limestone in with it, and you got the white, marbly looking stuff. They just don't understand how this stuff happened. You can't get that kind of a rock just by accident. It doesn't come out. You have to grind something up and put it all back together in a big blob, and it just sits there and turns into that. All right, this is my countertop, sold to me as granite. That's not granite. That is ground up, particulated meat. And I think it was ground up when it was still wet. And they ground all up into these little blocks. You see that? That's your black blood. This is your red blood over here. This is tendons and bone fragments and ligaments and all that stuff. And then this is the one piece of metal I could find in my whole countertop almost. I mean, I look pretty good. I didn't look every single inch. I mean, it's a huge countertop. It's 32 linear feet. So it's not like there's a, you should find a lot of metals. It's obvious what this is. And all this granite is the same. There's no metals in them. Now this, well, here you go again. That didn't come out of the ground like that. How could anybody just come up with that idea? This is from, oh, okay, this was a paper I did a few years back about metals. There's no metals. There's no metals in it. This is a worldwide average of everything. Silicon, they got the crummy metals, aluminum and, stuff like that, but there's no precious metals. There's no copper, or, gold, zinc, lead, cobalt, all that, there's none of this stuff. They took it all out, made metals out of them. That's what they did. Now, if you see a countertop like this, that is natural. That is from a natural creature's body. And there's going to be metals in here. There's going to be all kinds of blood vessels and things like that. And people are saying, boy, I look at my countertop and I'm looking at this and I'm seeing all the blood vessels and everything. I mean, they're there. They're just there. Because these were creatures. Some of them were. And those they all hardened up the same way. Although originally they were soft. And how can I say that? Well, here's how I can say it. Here's how I can say it. They were here with mining. They had vehicles that had treads in them to keep them up from sinking in. They drove up here. They cut these slabs out, and then they made walls and things with them. And then they moved them back here. They made these slabs. We were visited here by creatures that did this stuff. Bizarre creatures, absolutely bizarre. I have no way to account for any of that stuff. You have to open your mind up so wide that it spills all over the floor. Sweep it up, put it back, and hope for the best, because this is not a single thing that you were told about our history that is correct. I'm going to tell you that right now. Unless you believed every myth that was ever written, because those are true. The Age of Heroes, Perseus, all of that stuff. The giants, the dragons. That's a bloody rock. You see that right there? That is a bloody, I don't know whether it was the bone or whether but that is nothing but bloody mud fossil. And they cut these things when they were wet. They put them in here. That's why there's no place you can fit a playing card in between here. They were put up here in globs. They didn't do a whole lot of extra work here to do this. I mean, they obviously were very talented at what they did. However, they didn't chisel for 100 hours to do that. They just go bloop, bloop, bloop. When that went up there, this got pushed in here and it pushed that up. That's what it is. And the tunnels they dug them with their fingernails. They didn't dig them with, solid rock. Oh, they must have took it, and then they did this, and then they did that. No, absolutely not. And when they started with the pyramids, they were starting from these gigantic plateaus that look like trees. They were not trees. They are the giant feet from giants. They have the hex basalt columns sticking straight up. They broke off those columns and put them down, chiseled them up a little bit, and made a pyramid out of them. They built them from the top down. That's how they built the pyramid.